I was just hungry. That's all. It started as a normal evening. Nothing special. I came home tired, didn't want takeout again, and thought I'd cook something new. Something fun. So I searched online for unique homemade recipes. Scrolled for a while. Most of them were boring or too fancy. Then I saw one with no name. Just a plain page. Black background. White text. At the top it said, "This recipe is for you. You will know it when you read it." I should have clicked away, but I didn't. I scrolled down, and the first few ingredients looked normal. Salt, garlic, onions, water. Simple. I thought, okay, maybe it's just a weird website. So I kept reading. Next, add 1 teaspoon of ground thyme. Stir gently while thinking of someone you miss. That stopped me. Thinking of someone I miss? What kind of instruction is that? I smiled a little. Thought it was poetic. Maybe some weird artsy cooking blog. I even thought it was kind of cool. So I played along. I thought of my grandmother. I used to cook with her when I was a kid. The memory made me feel warm. The next step said, "Now speak her name, out loud." That made me pause. I looked around my kitchen, half laughing. But I said it anyway. "Maria." Nothing happened. No lightning, no spooky noise. Just silence. So I kept going. I was curious now. The recipe felt like a game. A puzzle. I wanted to see where it went. The next ingredient was odd. 1 strand of your own hair. I blinked. Sat there for a second. Froze. I looked again. Maybe I misread. But no, that's what it said. I almost closed the tab. But I didn't. I pulled 1 hair. Dropped it in the pot. It floated on the surface. The water shimmered for a second, just for a second, like oil on top of boiling soup. Then, it looked normal again. I told myself I imagined it. The next step. Bring the pot to a simmer. Do not look away. No matter what you hear. I froze. What I hear? This had to be a prank. But I'd come this far. I was too curious now. I turned on the stove. The pot began to heat. Bubbles started forming. The steam smelled like herbs, but also something I couldn't place. Metallic. Faint like wet coins. Then I heard it. A knock. Not on my door. Not on the window. From under the stove. It was soft. 3 slow knocks. Then nothing. I backed up. Turned off the flame. And right as I did, the webpage changed. New words appeared. They weren't there before. You didn't finish. Don't stop next time. I tried clicking away. The browser froze. The screen flickered. Then everything went black. My laptop shut off on its own. When I turned it back on, the recipe was still there, waiting. But now it had a name. At the top, in bold red letters, it said, "The meal that binds." I told myself I wasn't going to touch it again. The recipe, after what happened with the stove, the knocks, the screen glitching, I closed my laptop and left the kitchen. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. It didn't feel like a normal website. It didn't feel like just a prank. It felt personal. The way it said, "This recipe is for you." The way it used my grandmother's name, and the way the pot shimmered, like it reacted. I didn't sleep well that night. And when I woke up, the first thing I did, without even thinking, was open my laptop. The tab was still there. Still frozen. Still waiting. At the top, the title glowed faintly now. Almost pulsing. "The meal that binds." I scrolled down. The next steps had appeared. Step 4. Add the skin of a red apple. Peeled slowly. Think about the first time you felt alone. Step 5. Add 2 drops of fresh blood. Yours. I stopped breathing for a second. Was this real? I scrolled up. Refreshed. Same thing. Blood. I sat at the table, heart beating hard in my chest. I knew it was insane, but I couldn't close the tab. The page, it felt like it was watching me. I got up, went to the kitchen, peeled the apple. I didn't even realize I was following the step until it was done. I remembered the memory too, clear as day. I was 7 years old, sitting alone on the playground after school. Everyone had gone home. My mom forgot to pick me up. It got dark. I cried quietly, too scared to move. Why did the recipe want that? I stood there holding the apple skin. I did it. I took a pin from the drawer, pricked my finger, and let 2 drops fall into the pot. The second the blood hit the surface, the liquid inside turned cloudy. A deep red swirl spread through the broth like ink in water. And then I heard a voice. From behind me. Just one word. Continue. I turned fast. No one was there. But something had changed. My lights were dimmer. The clock on the wall had stopped. The second hand just ticked back and forth. And forth. I checked the recipe again. The next step had already appeared. No loading. No refresh. Step 6. You're doing well. You're almost open. Almost open? What did that mean? I stared at those words for a long time. Then I noticed something even worse. At the very bottom of the page, where the scroll bar ended, it said, page 1 of 3. I didn't touch anything. No keyboard. No mouse. But the recipe started changing. The page shimmered, like heat above a fire, and the words moved. Shifted. Step 6 melted away slowly, like ink dripping off a page. New words took its place. Page 2 unlocked. You may proceed. I didn't click anything. It just happened. A soft sound played from my speakers, a low whisper. It didn't say anything I could understand. It was more like breathing, not fast, not angry, just waiting. When I scrolled down, the new steps were there. But they weren't normal anymore. Not even close. Step 7. Light a black candle. If you don't have one, the flame will still know what it is. I didn't have a black candle. I lit a plain white one anyway, just to see. And the flame, it turned black. No smoke, just a tall, dark flame that barely moved. It didn't even flicker. I stared at it too long. The edges of my vision started to blur, like I was falling into it. I had to blow it out. And when I did, the room felt colder, like it had taken something with it. I went back to the screen. Step 8. Boil the mixture until the scent makes you remember something you regret. The pot on my stove had gone cold since last night, but somehow, it was boiling again. I hadn't touched the knob. Steam curled into the air, thick and gray. And suddenly, I smelled something I hadn't thought of in years. Lemons. My sister used to love lemon bars. She made them the day before she left. We never spoke again after that fight. I regret it every day. Why was this recipe making me remember that? Why did it know? I stepped back, away from the stove. Then my phone buzzed. One notification. From an unknown number. No name. No profile picture. Just one message. Add salt before it burns. I dropped the phone, ran to the pot and sprinkled salt in without thinking. The bubbling slowed. The water cleared, and the smell but when I turned back to my laptop, the page had changed again. Only one sentence on the screen now. But you're listening. I closed the lid fast, but the screen kept glowing. Faint red, even through the shut laptop. Like it was still open. Still waiting. So what? I should have stopped. Closed the laptop. Unplugged it. Burned the recipe if I had to. But I didn't. I just couldn't. That night, I tried to act normal. Ate a frozen dinner. Watched some TV. Avoided the kitchen. But the whole apartment felt wrong. Too quiet. The shadows in the corners were darker than usual. The clock still hadn't moved. My phone wouldn't charge, and my reflection in the hallway mirror looked off, like it blinked slower than me. Then the power went out. All at once, everything. Lights, fridge, silence, pitch black. I froze, waited for the hum of electricity to come back, but nothing did. And then, in the dark, I saw a glow, faint, reddish light, coming from the kitchen, from my laptop. I hadn't even opened it. I walked in slowly, step by step, heart pounding. The laptop was open. I didn't open it. The screen was bright red, and a new line had appeared in bold. Do not stop cooking, no matter what happens next. I whispered, what happens next? As soon as I said it, something knocked. Behind me. I turned fast, but no one was there. Another knock. This time from the hallway. Then one from the ceiling. Then from under the floor. I ran to the front door. Still locked. Nothing outside. The knocks kept coming, like something was trying every wall, every surface, just to see if I would move. I ran back to the kitchen. The screen had changed again. Now it said, "They're testing you. Stay with the flame." I looked at the stove. The pot was still there, still warm, even with no power. The candle I had blown out earlier lit again, but this time the flame was purple, and it was growing. I didn't want to go near it, but I did, because I felt like something worse would happen if I didn't. I stood in front of the pot. The mixture inside was still swirling. Then the knock stopped. Suddenly, all at once, silence. Too quiet, and then the laptop made a sound, just one loud ding, like an old oven timer. New text. Good. You stayed. You're almost worthy. The power flickered back on. My phone buzzed. Another message. This one said, "Tomorrow, the meet." That's all. Just that. No name. No number. No way to reply. I woke up with the smell already in the air. Something was cooking, but I wasn't in the kitchen. I was still in bed, wrapped in my blanket, the curtains closed. It was early morning. I hadn't even gotten up yet. But the smell, it was strong. Not like eggs or toast. Not like coffee. It was heavy, or meaty, like something had been roasting for hours. I sat up slowly. My bedroom door was open. I was sure I had closed it the night before. I listened. Nothing. Just the quiet hum of the fridge in the distance, and that strange smell drifting through the hallway. I got up, walked out carefully. The kitchen lights were on. That was the first thing that made my stomach twist. Because remember, the power had gone out last night. I had never turned those lights back on. I stepped into the kitchen. The stove was off. The pot was empty. The candle had burned all the way down. Nothing left but melted wax. But in the center of the counter, there was a covered plate, white ceramic, no cracks, a folded napkin beside it, and one single fork, like someone had set the table for me. I didn't touch it. I just stared. The smell was coming from under the lid. It made my mouth water, but also made my stomach churn. It smelled like food, but it didn't smell right. I turned around, reached for my phone to take a picture. That's when I noticed something on the wall, something I hadn't seen before. Carved into the paint, right beside the fridge, were 3 words. Eat to know. Not written in marker. Not scratched with a knife. Carved deep, like someone had taken their time. I didn't know what to do. I sat down at the table, just staring at the plate. I didn't want to lift the lid, but I did. Slowly, the steam rose up, and what I saw on that plate, it looked like meat. Browned perfectly, but shaped like nothing I've ever seen. Not beef, not chicken, not pork. It was small, twisted, with a thin cord of something dark still clinging to the edge. I leaned in closer, and that's when I saw it. A fingernail. Well, human. baked into the corner of the meat. I threw the lid across the room, stepped back so fast I hit the chair behind me. My breath got stuck in my throat. I checked the pot again, empty. Nothing else in the kitchen looked touched. But I knew someone had been there, had cooked that for me, and left it. Just as I turned to run out the door, I saw my laptop screen had turned back on by itself. A new line had appeared in the center. Don't waste what we give. And under that, tonight, you'll choose the next cut. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, lights on, blanket wrapped around me like armor. But no amount of light could make me feel safe anymore. The plate was still sitting there on the counter, covered again. I had thought about throwing it away. But when I tried, my hands froze. Literally froze. Like something inside me locked up. So I just left it, untouched. But still there. The message on my laptop was the part one couldn't stop thinking about. Tonight, you'll choose the next cut. Cut of what? Cut of who? I told myself it didn't mean anything, that it was just a sick joke. But deep down, I knew. It wanted a person. It wanted me to pick. And I think it already knew who I was thinking of. There's someone I hadn't talked to in years. My old neighbor, Malik. We grew up on the same street. Best friends as kids. But things changed in high school. He stole something from me. Lied to my face. We had a fight. I told him to disappear, and he did. Never apologized. Never came back. Last week, I saw his name again. On a Facebook memory. I didn't think much of it then. But now it kept replaying in my head. That name. That face. That anger. Was that why the recipe came to me? Was it feeding on old hate? I paced the room for hours, trying to shake the thought. But no matter what I did, the laptop screen wouldn't shut off. Even closed, I could feel the glow through the lid. At midnight, I finally gave in. I opened it, and there it was. You've already chosen. Say the name to continue. My hands shook. I whispered, Malik. The moment I said it, the flame on the melted candle lit itself. A gust of air brushed across the back of my neck, and my phone buzzed. No number, just a photo. It was Malik, standing at a bus stop. Tonight, time-stamped 11:56 p.m. He looked confused, like he didn't know who took the picture. Then another message appeared. He's close. Invite him in. My chest felt heavy, like the air was pressing down on me. I dropped my phone, stumbled back. I didn't say anything out loud. I didn't type anything. But deep inside, I had already thought about him. And that was enough. The recipe didn't need me to act. It just needed me to think. A knock came at the door. So, 2 taps. I didn't move. Then a voice. His voice. Hey, is someone there? I think I'm lost. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I stood there, just outside the kitchen, staring at the door. His voice was clear. Not a recording. Not in my head. It was Malik. After all these years. Outside my apartment. Hey, he called again. I think my phone died. Can I come in just for a minute? My heart was beating so loud I thought he might hear it through the door. How did he even find me? I never told him where I lived. We hadn't spoken in almost 7 years. I should have opened the door. Should have helped him. But all I could think about was the recipe, the screen, the candle, and the warning. Serve at midnight. I looked at the clock on the microwave. 11:59 p.m. 1 minute left. And still, that smell, meat, spices, heat, it was creeping back into the room, even though nothing was cooking. I took a step toward the door. My hand touched the knob. Another knock, but softer this time. Almost polite. Please, he said. My fingers tightened. I was going to open it. I had to. And then, behind me, the laptop screen lit up again. The words had changed. Now it said, He's already inside. I froze. Well, I turned back around. The room was empty, silent. No footsteps, no creak of a door. But the candle was burning again, taller now. Its flame was the color of bone. The smell was stronger. I turned back to the door, and it was still closed. But the knocking had stopped. I didn't know what to do, where to go, what to believe. Then I heard it, a sound from the hallway, inside the apartment, not the front door. A slow dragging noise, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. I spun around, staring toward the dark hallway. And that's when I saw him, Malik, standing there, but wrong. His eyes were wide, not blinking. His arms were hanging too low, his head tilted too far to one side, and his mouth, it was moving, like he was whispering, but no sound came out. The candlelight flickered. I backed into the kitchen. He stepped forward. I didn't know what to say. He opened his mouth wider this time, and something slipped out, a black thread, long and wet, hanging from his lips like a worm. He didn't speak, but I heard the words anyway, inside my head. You said my name. I answered. I looked down. The plate was back on the counter, uncovered now. The meat was steaming, fresh, and the knife was already in my hand. I never picked it up. I don't remember picking up the knife, but it was in my hand, heavy, cold, sharp enough to reflect the candlelight. Malik stood in the hallway, or what looked like Malik, but that wasn't him anymore. Something had hollowed him out, taken his shape. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, just watched. The black thread was still hanging from his mouth, moving on its own like it was alive. My fingers tightened around the knife. My arms wouldn't move, not forward, not back. It felt like something had control of me, like I was a puppet in my own body. I tried to speak, but my mouth wouldn't open. Then a deep sound came from the kitchen, not loud but low, like a drumbeat under the floor. The laptop screen lit up again. You've prepared the first. Now seal the bond. Seal the bond? What did that mean? I looked at the plate. The meat was still steaming, still fresh. But this time, there was another item next to it. A small glass bottle, full of dark red liquid. Where had that come from? The label was handwritten. Only 2 words. Drink me. Everything inside me screamed no. But my hand was already reaching for it. My legs moved on their own, slow, like I was underwater. I brought the bottle to my lips. The smell hit me first, thick, like iron. I gagged, but I drank it. 1 swallow. I dropped the bottle, and then everything changed. The kitchen lights dimmed. The flame on the candle grew taller, almost touching the ceiling, and Malik started to move again, but not walking, floating. His feet lifted off the ground, toes pointed down like he was being pulled upward by invisible strings. His arms opened wide. That black thread from his mouth stretched and stretched until it snapped in half. The moment it did, he screamed. Not a normal scream. It echoed inside my skull like metal scraping against bone. He twisted in the air, his face splitting open, not bleeding, not human anymore. The sound stopped, and he vanished, just gone. No body, no trace. I fell to my knees, shaking. The candle went out. The room was silent, and then the laptop made a soft ding. A new recipe had appeared. This one was titled, Second Course, the One You Love. I stared at the screen for a long time. Second Course, the One You Love. The words glowed softly, like they weren't typed but carved with light. I whispered out loud, no. I said it again, louder, no. But the recipe didn't care. Under the title, a new list appeared. Ingredient 1, a personal item. Ingredient 2, a drop of your blood. Ingredient 3, their name written in ash. Then it ended with, begin before the next sunset, or we'll begin without you. I wanted to throw the laptop across the room, smash it, burn it, anything, but I didn't move, because I already knew who it wanted. Her name rose in my mind before I could stop it. Lena. She was the only one who ever mattered to me. We hadn't spoken in a while. Not because of a fight, just life. Distance. Silence. But I still thought about her. Always. And now the recipe wanted her. I tried to fight it, to forget, to push her name out of my thoughts. But every time I did, something strange would happen. The lights would flicker. The laptop would wake itself. A whisper would brush my ear at night. And worse, my dreams became hers. I saw Lena in my sleep, walking alone through streets I didn't recognize. Sitting on her bed, crying, though I didn't know why. Once, I saw her mouth move like she was saying my name, over and over, but no sound came out. Each morning after those dreams, the recipe would update. It would say, "You're already thinking of her." I stopped sleeping. I unplugged the laptop. Didn't matter. The screen kept glowing. I even left the apartment, stayed with a friend, tried to forget. But on the third night away, my friend found ashes in his kitchen sink, shaped into letters. He asked if it was a joke. I told him I had no idea, but I did. I knew exactly what it was. The recipe didn't just want me to cook. It wanted me to submit, to give parts of myself, and now parts of others. People I knew, people I remembered, people I loved. That night I went back home. The plate was still there. The candles still burned. And the bottle? Full again. Same red liquid. Same label, drink me. I didn't touch it. Not yet. But I knew what was coming, because the screen had one final line glowing at the bottom. Love is the sweetest flavor, and she's almost ripe. Lena called me tonight, but she didn't have my number. I changed it months ago, right after everything started. I never gave it to her. I never gave it to anyone. The phone rang just after midnight. No name on the screen. No ID. Just one word. RECIP. I should have let it ring, but something in me needed to hear her voice. So I answered, and there she was. "Hello," she said, her voice small. Is this you?" My heart stopped. "Lena." She breathed out like she'd been holding it. Thank God. I didn't know who else to call. Something's wrong. Of course something was wrong. It had started the second I whispered her name. I sat down slowly, gripping the phone so hard my hand hurt. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "I've been having these dreams. About you. And this thing. It looks like you, but it's not. It keeps telling me I'm an ingredient." I didn't speak. She went on. "And now weird stuff's happening in my apartment. My oven turned on by itself. There were footprints in flour I didn't spill. And last night, my mirror fogged up and someone wrote my name on it from the inside." She paused. "Have you been thinking about me?" she asked. It felt like a blade between my ribs. This I had too much. I almost told her the truth right then. About the recipe. About Malik. About what it wanted. But something stopped me. I remembered what it said. Say the name to continue. Was saying her name on the phone part of the ritual? Would telling her too much make her next? So I lied. I said, "It's probably just stress. You're okay." But I didn't believe my own words. Neither did she. There was a long silence. Then she whispered, "I think it's watching me." "Who?" I asked. But she didn't answer. The line clicked. She was gone. I stared at the screen. Then I noticed something. The call timer didn't stop. It kept counting. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. And in the background, I could hear breathing. Not hers. Something slower. Deeper. What? I hung up. Threw the phone across the room. But it rang again. Same name. RECIP. This time, I didn't pick up. But I didn't need to. Because when I turned toward the kitchen, the plate was full again. And this time, there were 2 forks. The forks were silver. Old but clean. One placed on each side of the plate. Like a dinner for 2. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Because now I understood something I'd been trying to ignore. The recipe wasn't just guiding me. It was pulling me, changing things around me, making the world fit its plan. It was in control now. I backed away from the table. I didn't touch the food. I didn't touch the forks. But as I turned to leave the room, the door shut by itself. I jumped and grabbed the handle. It was locked. I hadn't locked it. I didn't even know it had a lock. Behind me, the candle flared up again. That awful smell, sweet, rotting, metallic, filled the kitchen. The laptop screen flickered. A new message was typing itself out. Letter by letter. Your guest is on her way. I whispered to myself, no, please no. But the screen continued. We sent her an invitation. She accepted. I shook my head. I didn't know how it could have contacted Lena. How it tricked her. Or maybe it didn't trick her. Maybe it called to something deep inside her the way it did to me. Something curious. Lonely. Hungry. I pounded on the kitchen door. Yelled. No answer. No help. And then I heard it. Soft, light footsteps. Coming up the stairs. Lena's voice through the door. Hey. I don't know why, but I came. My blood ran cold. She was right outside. I got this weird message, she continued. Said you needed help. That you were cooking something, and I should bring wine. She laughed a little. Nervous. It also said, don't forget the rosemary. I backed away from the door like it was burning. No, I whispered. Don't come in. But the knob turned. She was here. And I didn't unlock it. The recipe had. The door opened. And there she was. Lena. Smiling, confused, holding a bottle of wine and a small bundle of rosemary wrapped in paper. I don't know why I'm here, she said softly. I just felt like I had to be. Her eyes looked around the kitchen. The candle. The plate of food. The 2 forks. Her smile faded. This looks like a setup, she whispered. It is, I said. She looked at me, eyebrows raised. What do you mean? I didn't know how to explain. How do you tell someone that a recipe is alive? That it wants you both at the table, not for a meal, but for a ritual? She stepped inside anyway, like the room itself pulled her in. I've been dreaming about this, she said. This table. This plate. That fork. She pointed to the one closest to the wall. I hadn't noticed before, but the handle was twisted. Slightly bent, like someone, or something, had already held it. Lena sat down. She didn't wait for me to explain. She didn't ask what we were eating. She just said, let's not waste it. And she picked up her fork. I reached to stop her, but I was too slow. She took a bite. Swallowed. Her eyes went wide. Not with pain. With memory. I know this taste, she whispered. This isn't food. This is a moment. A night. Her hands trembled. I was 8. My mother was yelling downstairs. I was hiding under my bed, crying. This is how it tasted in my mouth then. The fear. The dust. The cold. She dropped the fork. What is this? She asked. I didn't have to answer. The screen on the laptop glowed again. She has tasted the truth. Now it's your turn. The other fork slid closer to me. On its own. I didn't want to eat. But Lena's hand reached across the table. She gripped mine. Her voice shook. Please, I don't want to do this alone. I picked up the fork. The food was warm, so it looked like meat, but darker, redder. I took a bite. It didn't taste like food. It tasted like loss. Like the night I buried my dog in the backyard at 11 years old. Like the first time I watched my father leave and never return. Like every single goodbye I never wanted to say. Tears blurred my vision. Lena cried too. We sat there, forks in hand, swallowing pain like it was dinner. When the plate was empty, the candle went out. Not with a flicker, but like someone sucked the flame out. The darkness was instant. Complete. The laptop typed again, even with the screen off. Course too complete. Final dish requires only one guest. We both read it, and we both knew what it meant. Only one of us would walk away from this table. We didn't speak for a long time. Lena just stared at the plate. I stared at her, and the screen glowed again, even though neither of us had touched it. The final course must be chosen. You know what we require. Lena looked at me with wet eyes. The once one of us. I nodded. Yeah. Neither of us moved. It felt like the room was holding its breath. Then something slid out from under the table. A knife. It wasn't there before. It gleamed like it had just been sharpened. Lena saw it too. She didn't scream. She didn't panic. She just whispered, "This isn't food anymore. It's sacrifice." I stood up fast, kicking the chair back. No, we're not doing this. But the recipe had other plans. The laptop screen blinked with a new message. One must feed. One must finish. Or both shall rot. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Then burst. Glass rained down. We were in darkness again. But something moved in the shadows now. Something behind us. Something watching. And it was getting closer. Lena grabbed the knife before I could. "Don't!" I shouted. But she didn't lift it toward me. She held it toward herself. "I'll do it," she said. "I don't want to become whatever this thing is turning us into." My voice cracked. "No, please, you don't have to." She smiled. A small, broken smile. Maybe this is what it wants. Maybe it wins either way. But I'd rather choose than become. The shadows were almost around us now. Then something strange happened. The screen flickered again, and it said, "Offer denied. Both shall remain." The knife vanished. One blink and it was gone. Lena dropped to the floor, gasping, like something had been pulled out of her. Maybe it was her will. Maybe it was her soul. I held her. She was shaking. And then the laptop began typing again, but slower, as if something was struggling. There is one more way. But the recipe must change. We are still hungry. And then the screen cracked. Right down the middle. A sound came from the laptop, like a growl. What? Mouths opening. Not one. Not human. The sound coming from the laptop wasn't just a growl anymore. It was breathing. Heavy. Close. Like something alive was inside the screen and trying to push through. I pulled Lena up from the floor. She was cold, but breathing. Barely. Then the screen cracked again. And this time, it opened. I don't mean it glitched or glowed. I mean it physically split open like a mouth. Wires peeled back like gums. Plastic bent like lips. And in the center, wet, red, black, was a tongue made of static. It pulsed. It twitched. And then it spoke. But not in a voice. In a hunger. The laptop mouth whispered without words. And somehow, I still understood. You cooked with memory. You cooked with fear. Now we feast on flesh. I stepped in front of Lena, shaking. You can't have her. The mouth twitched. Then give yourself. I felt something deep in me, like heat rising from my bones. like it was already inside me, growing, feeding. The air got heavy. The lights in the hallway flickered on and off, casting long, stretched shadows across the kitchen floor. And I swear to you, our shadows were moving even when we stood still. Lena whispered, "We're not in our world anymore." I nodded slowly. I think the recipe made its own world, through us. She looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Then how do we end it?" Before I could answer, the laptop started pulling air. The flame from the candle twisted toward it. Loose paper flew straight in. The recipe itself, the printed version, got sucked into the mouth, page by page. And with every page that vanished, I felt weaker. Like the parts of myself tied to those steps were being torn away. The taste of childhood grief, the memory of first fear, the guilt of saying Lena's name aloud. All of it ripped out and fed into that thing. Lena fell to her knees, holding her head. "It's eating us." I grabbed the laptop and tried to slam it shut, but it wouldn't close. The mouth just grew wider. That voice returned, like teeth in my mind. One ingredient left. Final taste. Final truth. I looked at Lena, then at the mouth, then at the knife. It was back, lying neatly where it had disappeared before. Waiting. Polished. Inviting. Lena whispered, "Don't. That's what it wants." But the truth hit me. It wasn't asking for food anymore. It was asking for a choice. And I wasn't sure which one would kill us faster. I stared at the knife, at Lena, at the mouth in the screen, open wide like it was waiting to be fed. And the voice inside my head whispered again, "One final taste. You must choose." But this time, I didn't move. I closed my eyes and tried to think. What had the recipe always wanted? Pain? Fear? Obedience? No, it wanted us. Our attention, our energy, our belief. All this time, it didn't just feed on ingredients or rituals. It fed on us doing what it said. Every time I followed a step, no matter how weird, it got stronger. So now, standing there with that knife in my hand, I made a decision. I wouldn't do it. Not this time. I dropped the knife. It clanged against the kitchen tile and slid under the table. The air changed immediately. The candle flickered wildly. The mouth in the laptop screen twisted, like it was screaming without sound. The kitchen lights exploded again. Sparks rained from the ceiling. But I didn't move. I didn't pick up the knife. I just whispered, "No more steps. No more instructions. You don't get to finish." The laptop started to glitch, sparks flying out the side. Lines of code flashed too fast to read. The screen cracked more, until it split down the middle and shattered like glass. The candle went out. The lights stopped flickering. Silence. Everything was still. I held my breath, waiting to see if something would reach out from the shadows, or if the mouth would reopen. But nothing came. Lena whispered behind me, "Did it work?" I turned and nodded. "I think so." We sat there for a long time, not speaking, not even moving, just letting the silence settle. Eventually, Lena stood up, shaky, and said, "Let's never talk about this again." We didn't take the laptop. We didn't clean up the table. We just walked out. And as I shut the front door behind us, I saw a new email notification flash on my phone. It was from an address I didn't recognize. No subject, just a small preview of the message body. New recipe available. Serves 2. I didn't open it. I turned my phone off. But even with the screen dark, I swear I could still smell rosemary. That's the end of the story, unless you want to know what happens if someone else opens that email. Smiling face with horns. Let me know if you'd like a sequel or spin-off.